And we're about to welcome on stage Nicolas SEKKAKI, CEO Friends of IBM. Some applause, please. And Nicolas, actually, good morning to you. The question here is how data matters to your industry and to your company strategy.
I think data, as you said, Isabelle, FALQUE-PIERROTIN, data is now at the core of everything we do. For many, many years, we've been about optimizing the processes, and all the enterprise and company have been working on this. Now we see that the data are fueling new business models, and this is really something which is new, but it's also very promising, as every innovation has to be seen about how do you innovate, how do you see the boundaries of innovation, ethics and regulation is key, and trust is at core of everything we do. So we really welcome what happened in the GDPR. As a company also, you need to work, and IBM, by the way, is doing most of its business outside US, so we are a global player. IBM France is a French company, by the way. So that's who we are, and we need to be able to operate in every single country. Now, it would become a nightmare for us, or for any company that want to do business outside their own country to have regulation which is specific by countries. So whenever you have these kind of discussions, which are harmonized at a global scale, the more global they are, the better it is. So and I think we have been very involved in those discussions and trying to bring also a balance and fair about what the enterprise needs to do, what our customers needs to do too, and what the regulation needs to do. But at the core of what we do, we can speak about regulation, but it is about trust. And trust is not a new thing for us. As an individual, trust is important. When you do sport, when you rely on others. In companies like IBM, trust is everything. I mean, we're just not valuing trust. We don't make business without trust. Our customers are running their infrastructure, their data, their processes on our infrastructure, on our software, on our services. We do managed services, we do outsourcing. That means we are running their IT for them. And if a bank, if a government, if a small company, if a global company would second guess a second that their data is not protected with us, they will go away. So it's core of what we do. So we speak trust and control. It means we have to impose to ourselves the fact that we are high standard in trust, and we allow our customer to trust in us. By the way, you were speaking about a consumer and the portability. It is very key to have a framework that allows you to do this thing. A new industry has emerged. When we speak about outsourcing, which is managed services at the large scale, you can't have an outsourcing if the customer is locked in forever with you. You have what we call reversibility. That means the customer, after a couple of years, can move from one supplier to the other. And we have a commitment that if they are with IBM and they're going to one of our competitor, we have to help the customer and the competitor to have the continuity of services and the quality of services. Without this agreement between all the players in this world, we would have never created this industry. So it's very at the core of what we do. It's so at the core of what we do that we have been one of the first companies to have a chief privacy officer in the 2000s, so long before the data was the fuel of everything. Trust is in one of our values, by the way. Trust in what we do, trust in the relationship with the customer is in the core of this company. And so we have been very active. Now, everything is moving very fast. Digitalization is everywhere, is redoing everything. You have consumer and you have enterprise. On your smartphone, most of you have the two datas, the one for your company and your the private things. This is mixing up. And it's obviously moving and shifting and blurring the frontiers. And we have to act and we have to be proactive. Suspicious can be suspicious, but we have to be proactive on how can we protect the different data from a privacy, but also for our company and from intellectual property. There are also new areas that are emerging. We are entering into the cognitive area, which is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is about moving from an information area to a cognitive area. So you need to understand the processes, you need to understand the IP of your engineers, and and as a company, and you have the data. So how do we ensure that nobody's stealing the data from the consumer of the enterprise? But at the same time, we need to have, when we have a consultant working for a company, obviously the data belongs to the company, but the brain of the consultant is improving every day. So we are in this, in the mix of everything. If we start with regulation, we will kill innovation. But at the same time, as we do business, I think we are creating a new area. So if we don't need the regulator, and trust is at our core of what we do, obviously you have to have high standard about what you do. So we have, for many years, we have around 10 big principles in IBM. I will highlight 3 of them. Privacy and security by design was absolutely core in what we do. When we develop software, when we develop a hardware, we are absolutely, or services, or contract, we ensure that privacy and security are preserved. The customers should know what we are doing and have trust. For example, the way we do business. We publicly said that there is no backdoor to our software or hardware. We publicly say it. Usually you don't, but we did it. We said there is no backdoor. Oh, by the way, if a government asks to have access to the data, we won't. They have to ask the customer or they have to go to court, but we won't. We have to be very clear and very transparent about what you do with what belongs to your customers. We are very also keen to ensure that when you have subcontractor, which I call here third-party compliance, if you contract with your customer, but you subcontract yourself to somebody else, you need to ensure that the subcontractor has the same standard as you. Otherwise, it's a leak and a flood in the system. And then encryption is very key. Encryption in everywhere, at all the levels, from the network, from the data flow. You have to know, for example, in some of our hardware, we encrypt at the memory level. Because as we are in this virtual world, you need to ensure that one customer or even one individual in a customer do not have access by any means to another individual in the company. So you have to have encryption at all levels. So this is very key. Now we were in favor of GDPR. We're in favor of having an harmonized way. You know, the US, for example, have a very view of consumer privacy. About Europe might have more a view about data and rights about the data. So it might be different angles which are linked to culture, which are linked to economy. But what is important is making a bridge between 2 very democratic areas where business is critical. As we are working on services and goods, data and protection are part of what happens in the flow and has to be done with it. So at IBM is very key to work on making bridges and bringing a reality in the world of regulation also, but there's the consumer, but the enterprise, what we need to do, how we need to do. And obviously, we also learn from regulator about what we need to do. But a common protective legal framework is very important. There has been, I spoke about the balance. You need to have a balance. When you have a negotiation, you need to have balance right. And I think the discussion has been very balanced, and by the way, enhance the protection of the European enterprise and consumer, stronger obligation from the companies, improve access to justice. That means if a European wants to have go on trial, they will have a US ambassador to help them do that. Limitation on government access and US access. I think the US had a written agreement about what they won't do or what they do, and I put aside the defense. And then there is annual review. You cannot have a framework in this world which is moving so fast, where none of us can say what will be the world in 3 or 5 years from now. You need to revisit this thing. And I think this is having an agility in the frame. The framework is very key and important. As a conclusion, I would say that we need to ensure privacy and we need to ensure data flow and protection, and we should not oppose both of them. So if people thought that we would fight between Isabelle and myself, the answer is no. I think we are absolutely lined up. I think we, however, have to be very important, because you were saying, Xavier, that data and data protection and who owns the data can be a weapon for economic. And we see sometimes the surge of protectionism from countries or from companies. And we have to very much ensure that this does not happen. Because if we say data, we do protection, then we need to do protections on everything. Goods, services, business. Why would we protect one thing which is core to the business, etc.? It has to be from the same regulation. We are in Europe. We can almost, in some countries, move from one country to the other, and we could not move the data from one country to the other. Why so? So we are very much into the favor of, obviously, free data flow within Europe. It has to be controlled, obviously, in Europe, but it's important because otherwise it costs us a fortune. And by the way, let's make no mistake, it's not because your data is located in one country that they are more secure. It's because what you're doing in the country that makes more secure, or how you use it are more secure. So just one thing, no protectionism. I think it's a good false idea. And sometimes we see it even in France. So that's one of the things we're going to discuss.
Thank you so much, Nicolas SEKKAKI. Please grab a seat.